Today I want to talk about this Confederate flag and stupidity. Because, see, the thing is, the people who usually brandish this Confederate flag, if we really knew our history and what's going on, okay, people usually brandish this Confederate flag, our poor, disenfranchised white people. The same ones, when you go to jail, that's who you see. They're not running the prison industries. They didn't start the Civil War. Mostly Jews owned slaves in the South during the Civil War, so they financed the war. So we fighting the sons of soldiers, which there was a lot of black Confederate soldiers as well. But see, my thing is, you look at the Jerry Springer show. Now what do you see? You see poor white people and black people making a fool out of themselves. And Jerry Springer sitting there orchestrating the whole thing. And then you got poor whites and black people. Some of them whites have a history with the Confederate flag. And when I say our stupidity, I mean black people's stupidity. That's just like you gangbanging, right? And then, or somebody in your family gangbang, you tell them, man, stop gangbanging. You know, they can't understand that because they grew up seeing you arguing and always talking about black people. So that's what they grow up and do. That's their rival. You understand? So somebody carrying a Confederate flag, we grow up thought, okay, you got to hate them. But see, the Democrat Party founded the Ku Klux Klan, but we don't hate the Democrat Party. You understand what I'm saying? They founded poor white people to get at blacks. It's a class distinction. So if you know about your history, and a lot of black people are not from Africa, we're native, indigenous. If you knew about your history and the meaning of that flag, like I said, some blacks fought in the Confederate Army willingly. See, the Union Army, you had to say, well, we'll let you, we'll free you from slavery if you fight for us. You understand? And look here, if that war, it's about knowing our history. If that war was fought to end slavery, then the wrong side won. Okay? Because if this ain't slavery, what is? That you can work on the plantation, but you can only spend your money on the plantation. We can't own industry. We own less than 1% of the businesses in our community. Foreigners come over here, boom, here you go, a business. They don't even have an address. They giving them keys to places. They ain't got the address to a place. They come in with a bowl of rice. They got a Chinese restaurant. You understand? But we aren't allowed to own businesses. So when I say slavery, this mass incarceration, and keep in mind, Democrats, they all about that mass incarceration. They do not love you. Their first love was the poor white people. You understand? So they used that against the black politicians of the day. That's why they were founded. Blacks were Republicans. So we was invited in by the right wing, you know, because most of us was Native Americans, indigenous. Was invited in by the right wings. Said, okay, vote for all your leaders. Go ahead. Yeah, put all your leaders. We're going to let y'all run this. And so we voted all our leaders into office. Then the left wing come, the Democrats, and founded the Ku Klux Klan and killed all the leaders. And so that's what was going on back in 1865, 1860, and all of that stuff. So it's a lot of heart-wrenching stuff went on after what you call the slavery thing. This is when the real condition of the Native Americans and blacks in this country went down. You had the Compromise of 1877. You had the Homestead Acts. You had segregation and Jim Crow. You know, all of that just to make sure that we don't rise up as a people and we'll be in the condition that we are in today, totally dependent on everybody else. We don't have no farms, no industry. We're not allowed to open up stores as they come up with all these regulations. Now, Trump and it's not a political thing. Republicans and Democrats, they all two wings of the same bird, you know. So, and we've been getting screwed over by all of them. But what Trump did is he just cut some regulations that'll make it easier to start a business up. So black people need to take advantage. And, you know, things like soybeans. China isn't buying soybeans from America now. They're trying to hurt the president because he's fighting back against this globalism. So China's not buying soybeans. Black people need to start buying soybeans, going straight to the farmer until we get our own farms, right? China's also not buying lobster. So what black people need to start doing? Going straight to the fishermen until we start fishing. You understand? And it should be lobster shacks in every hood in the community. You understand? But we so caught up fighting against people with the Confederate flag. That is not our fight. You understand? Those are poor white people. They didn't fund the war. They got a heritage of the people that got taken advantage of who took part in the Confederate Civil War on the Confederate side. You know, you're fighting somebody else's whole battle. And they always use black people. Every time we want to come up, they bring some poor whites out and say, hey, that's your enemy. Mm-hmm. See, they don't start they're not in charge of the mass incarceration. They're not in charge of putting guns and drugs into our communities.
It's the other white people that got money.
They're not, yeah, that's right. It's the ones that got money. But they want you to stay focused on the poor white people. First, yourself, calling yourself the ops, killing each other. Then when you group up on a common cause, okay, now get the poor whites. And we going to sit back. The whole thing is a Jerry Springer show. You got Jerry Springer sit back, okay, poor whites, make a fool out of yourself. Y'all fight each other. All right, blacks, make a fool out of yourself. Y'all fight each other. All right, yeah, and I'm the ringmaster. Just sitting there. You understand? And this is not our fight. So when I say the Confederate flag and stupidity, it's the stupidity of black people trying to fight poor white people thinking that's our enemy. When you go to jail or prison, that's who you see. So that should tell you something. The Jerry Springer show, that's who you see. The media don't like them. That should tell you something. You know, the enemy of your enemy, because the media ain't never been a friend to black folk in this country here. You understand? So we have to wake ourselves up, man. You know, a lot of that stuff, African, American, what that's calling yourself is an undocumented immigrant, and it's disrespectful. If you just came over here, you know what, 3 generations ago, 2 generations ago, people came in the 1900s. Man, was here way before that, even if you believe in this slave trade stuff, which I don't. I think we're indigenous. Matter of fact, my family roots are indigenous. So you know, it's no thinking to my game, and most of us are. But even if you think you came from the slave ships in the 1800s, 1600s, you were still here before these people calling you an African American. How can they come here 50 years ago, 80 years ago, and call themselves American as soon as they touch down and call you an African American? It's dangerous. It's culturally incorrect because most of us are natives. And then it's legally inaccurate. You're an undocumented immigrant. They put an African first before American. But they come here and don't even speak the language yet. They still speak Portuguese or Russian or whatever they speak. But they're American as soon as they touch down. And you are African American. So we should be careful with that business. You understand? You know, indigenous, I can deal with that. Because we are. Check the history. The Olmec heads, they tore all of them up on this side of the continent. But you go to Mexico and South America, you see all the Olmec heads. That's our people, man. You know, truth be told. And, you know, we just got to know a lot about our history. But hating poor white people and being mad. Now, this is the main point about that Confederate flag. The churches, all right, they pulled all the churches together to boycott South Carolina, right? Supposedly because of a Confederate flag. And all the churches got together because they master told them to come together. They really wasn't supposed to do that. At the time that Trump just lifted this, he took the gag off the churches where they can get political and help their communities. But before, they weren't supposed to be doing that. But their masters got them together to boycott South Carolina. Now, what was happening on South Carolina? They said it was because of some Confederate flag. See, they just want to throw it in your face while they're killing your people. Now, they starved out the Gullah Geechee people down there in the Carolina Islands. those islands right off South Carolina, those are black people that own those islands from slavery. And a lot of people say they are indigenous Americans. And then some people say they Africans. But anybody who was talking about that indigenous stuff, they were the first ones to go. This is what they did. They did the land grab thing with the title deeds mess. They came in, oh, y'all inherited the land, so you don't have titles on it. So it's 500 of y'all in this area. Okay, I'm going to get one of y'all to sign this paper, this title deed. Boom. Now the rest of y'all got no say. They just came with the bulldozers. That's what they're doing in the South Carolina Islands right now. You know what a lady got ate by the alligator just recently, walking her dog? That's what's happening down there. They taking those people's lands, and they use the black church to boycott them because of the Confederate flag. So I say we shouldn't be a fool no more. This is not our fight. So they're going to get you to go against poor whites. And believe me, some of your own forefathers fought on the Confederate Army to ends to their means. So they need to get that land back to those people. But they just down there taking it, man. They just straight taking their land, the South Carolina Islands. You know, but they were able to do that because they dangled a Confederate flag up in front of the black churches and say, you know, get mad at them. They got a Confederate flag somewhere. And all the churches told all their members to boycott South Carolina. Now they're taking the land of those black people on the South Carolina Islands who were making money off of the tourism. You know, so that's what happened there. You didn't boycott nobody but the native blacks who still own some land. That's the only boycott the black churches in this country ever did. And it was embarrassing because they made you do it against your own kind. And they just threw the flag up. So we need to stop, you know, having this, you know, it's like on the Jerry Springer show when they ring the bell and then the contestants or guests or whatever you want to call them, clowns, start fighting each other. That's our bell. Ding, ding. They show us a Confederate flag and say, that's your enemy. You know, these poor whites, you know, that don't, when they talk about minorities, that means everybody except poor blacks and them. Because you can be Italian, you know, a fresh immigrant Italian and get some minority benefits. You can be Polish, Jewish, Portuguese. You get minority benefits for all that. Everybody except blacks and these poor whites. And they got us going against them all the time. They should tell you something. The enemy of your enemy. You understand? So it's just a time for us to wake up. Now, I'm not a blame the system type dude. You know, that's not it. Whatever was meant to be. This thing is bigger than white supremacy. I can tell you that right now. It's governed with the white supremacist aspect, but this is way bigger than white supremacy. I'll tell you that right now. There's a whole world in agreement to shut down the knowledge and bring the dark ages on. White people didn't start that, but it's run with a white supremacy element. And it didn't have nothing to do with these poor white pilgrims in America. They the homegrown oldest ones here besides us. They was here before. Ask anybody, any white dude you meet, you know, that's calling you an African American, ask them when their forefathers got here. They're going to say, well, 1947 or 1960 this, 1960 that. You understand? If the truth be told, we got along with the poor whites. That was the whole gist. But every time something clicked off, they turn us against them against us. But we need to stop. We need to go all the way to the top. Now, right now, you got a president telling black people, well, hey, I'll pardon some political prisoners, you know, and we not pulling it. So, but why? Why? Because they say, well, he racist, because he embraces poor white people. Ain't that some shit? See, they're struck from owning businesses too. They get drugs and guns flowed in their communities as well. You understand? We on the wrong side of this thing. That's just like you gangbanging. We're on the wrong side of this thing. But that's how we was raised, so that's how it is. I'm just saying wake up. You know, not talking bad about nobody or nothing like that. It is time for us to wake up because karma Karma, is real. And karma is showing itself nowadays. You know, and getting stronger and stronger. So that means this is the beginning of a new time. See, when karma and spirituality gets involved, because black people in America, we are the least spiritual people on the face of the planet. You understand? I mean, we go to church, and that's a performance. It's like a concert at our churches. You know, hey, they dance and sing and preach, hollering at you and all this old nigga preaching, and then say, hey, give me some money. You know, that's all that is. So that's our spirituality. You know, even the Islam. I'm gonna tell you something. Okay, how did the gangs get started? All right, they started calling us colored and all this, the ones that was mixed and mulatto. This is back in the day, right after what they call the slavery time. Now, this is when the real stuff started happening. They started calling us colored. Now, if you would call yourself a native and you wasn't on the plantation, you could get hanged or you could die. Now, that's a fact. So anybody promoting that they from Africa, because that just started in the late 1700s, this black people from Africa stuff. So anybody saying that they were from Africa got a pass. They can start Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Elijah Muhammad. Now, Noble Drew Ali, he was taught by the same guy Elijah Muhammad was taught by. But he had the 6-point star, and they was the Hebrew Israelites. So they started that faction or religion. Then Elijah Muhammad had the 5-point star, the moon and crescent, and he started the Nation of Islam, right? Now, you know where I'm going with this. So after that, factions from the Nation of Islam broke off, and boom, started the gang, the Blackstones. Factions from the Noble Drew Ali movement and the Hebrew Israelites with the 6-point star, they broke off and started the Gangster Disciples. And that's how the gang started. It started off as a religion. See, back then, anybody saying that they was from Africa can put their nose up to the white man. Hey, white people this, white people that, da-da-da, y'all ain't nothing. And people say, whoa, they can do that. They can start their own business as long as you saying that you from Africa. You could do that. So it's pumping up till we get to now is the final chapter in this. Because now they're telling you to not only say you from Africa, but they come up, make you call yourself African American, so put Africa first. Then after that, they saying DNA can tell you whether you're from Africa. Now that's the biggest lie in the world. We've been around here for millions of years. DNA deals with millions of years old. That's how it tells you the difference from a monkey. That's what DNA does. But it cannot tell you the difference. Oh yeah, you stopped over, you was born on 110th. That's just like saying if DNA can tell you from Africa. If it could tell you that you was born on 59th Street, it could tell you that you lived in Africa at one time. We've been traveling, man, for millions of years. DNA can't tell you that you stopped at a certain place at a certain time. This is common sense. You know, and they even have to say it's for entertainment purposes only when they trying to track your roots. Now, they can track who your mother and father was. You're lying like that. You know, but to tell you where you came from, can it tell you from 79th Street? You grew up in Roseland? Can it tell you that? If it can't tell you that, it can't tell you where, yeah, you from Africa or you from Nairobi. Man, wow. Anyway, and ask them. They have to say that's for entertainment purposes only. So, but this is the last chapter because they can legalize calling us African Americans and take away our rights. We already calling ourselves that, labeling ourselves as undocumented immigrants. Now they put the DNA thing with it. We let them get away with that. Then boom. Now they can send ICE on us because we undocumented immigrants. Bruh, you know, we got to learn your history. You are indigenous people from here, you know, but that's here or there. Follow the paper trail. You got a paper trail, follow. So, but the Confederate flag, those guys are not our enemies, man. That Confederate flag is not an enemy of ours. You know, if we want to make change, we find out who is blocking us from owning our business, who got this curriculum in our school that's poisoning our children, and stop that. And you ain't gonna run into nobody carrying a Confederate flag. If you go to the source of your real problems, you won't see that. So all I'm saying is don't let them keep pissing you off, because we already set South Carolina islands up for the okie doke. Set them smooth up. All the black churches boycotted South Carolina, where these native blacks was making money off tourism. Wasn't bothering nobody. Making money off tourism. So we boycotted that, and then so the slave master can go in there and take their property. And they doing it right now. And we need to make a little fuss about that. I'm going to start wearing my Confederate flag until, to bring attention to that issue. Because it's a real issue. They use that to take those people's land. Our stupidity about the Confederate flag to take those people's land. Okay. All right. Now, next time, we're going to talk about, our indigenous roots. So, till next time.